Crystal Moon Creations, and today I am so happy to finally be able to share with you guys my finished jewelry from the October Bargain Bead Box. If you watched my unboxing of this box, you'll know my first response to this, that while yes, the beads were beautiful, the orange was intimidating. So I usually have more inspiration when it's a color I really like, and orange just isn't one of them. So initially I made 2 sets of jewelry. And then I just kind of pushed the box to the side to deal with later and let time go. So towards the end of October, I realized I really hadn't worked on the box much and pulled it back out and started creating. And once I actually got deep into the box, I could not stop myself, which led to the creation of these 8 sets of jewelry. That includes necklaces, bracelets, and pairs of earrings. So 8 of each. And the last thing I need to share with you guys is that I had to break this video into 2. As I had so much finished jewelry to show you guys, the video got really long and I had a hard time dealing with the size of the files when I moved them to my computer. So this is part 1 with the first 4 pieces of jewelry. And then I'm gonna have part 2 up immediately after this with the last 4. Okay, I think I've talked enough now. I'm gonna let you guys get into the video. The first set I created from this box is this beautiful long pendant style necklace. Now, the star of this show are these crackle agate beads and the focal metal piece. So working those 2 together, I also picked out some beads to complement it from the box, being the denim rondelles and the bicones. Also from the Bargain Bead Box, I'm using some fancy spacers and the bead caps. Getting a closer look at the pendant, you can see in the open circle, I put a whole cluster of beads. Now, I originally only had the 1 agate bead in there, but I felt that since the center was the focal part of the pendant, the 1 bead really didn't fill it. So I took a whole bunch of dangles in corresponding colors to the project and layered them in this circle. And a close-up of this cluster, you could see I did 2 layers of beads here. So I have these, there's actually 5 dangles on the bottom, like a back row and a front row. And then on the top loop up here, I put a few more dangles just to cover the top of the loop inside the pendant. And as for the dangles, I knew I wanted to include the larger beads. So with that in mind, I also had to account for spacing. So this pendant had 11 loops on here. So I decided to only hang the dangles on every other one from the center. And then, as you could see, in between the larger beads, I had to put some of the fire polish in the similar color as the agates to provide the correct spacing so the agates could lay straight. And on the top, you can see I filled all the extra spaces with a bicone and fire polish. It's very important to me when I create these dangles that they hang straight, that they don't bump into each other and make them stick out funny, and they cascade into that point. So I spend a lot of time playing with the beads, seeing how many I need to create this flowing pattern. Now, moving up the chain, I have a decorative bail that I just looped through the chain that came with this collection. And initially, the bail was just sliding back and forth, causing my piece to hang uneven. So I put a little E600 right in the middle of the chain and slid the bail over it. That caused the bail to not be able to slide around, which I like much better because now it hangs always perfectly centered. So now I'll just do a quick look up the chain. You see the fancy spacers there around the rondelles, the bead caps around the agate, and that repeats all the way around to the back where it's closed with a lobster clasp. As for the earrings, they are a mini replica of the larger pendant in the necklace. So I used the chandelier component that was quite similar to the larger one in the focal piece and did a very similar style of hanging the beads. Obviously, it's less for the earrings as well as a little shorter. And you could see up here, I also did a little mini cluster over the holes in the earrings. And the last item in this collection is the bracelet. So the bracelet is a smaller version of the chain. You can see instead of the agates, I put a 4mm fire polish in the same colors. I don't like putting large 10mm beads in the bracelet. It makes it look more bulky. So I settled for these smaller beads. And other than the links being a little shorter, the chain portions, it is the same as the necklace. And it is closed with a lobster clasp, a little extender, and it has all these dangles at the end. So whenever I do a lobster clasp, I always put an extender chain on with a charm. And that's because you can hold the charm, wrap the bracelet around, and put on the lobster clasp by yourself. Without that extender, it's impossible for me to put a bracelet on myself. And here is a look of it on. It is a beautiful, delicate bracelet with a really cute dangle at the end. And when putting this piece together, I really kept in mind that I needed to keep a balance between the larger heavy beads and the silver. So I made sure that when I did the chain, it had a lot of open spaces with the silver showing and with putting the bead caps and the spacer beads around each bead as well, so that the larger beads didn't weigh down the chain of the necklace or the piece. This is the second piece I created from this box. I believe part of me was still intimidated by all the bright orange, and I was trying to delay the inevitable of working with them. So I picked out the crystals, and the crystals have a lot of blue, purple, green tones, and overall it gave me peacock vibes. And I decided to create a peacock necklace. And I also knew I wanted to frame the crystal in this beautiful toggle that came with the box. So actually from the Bargain Bead Box, that's the only things in this set, the crystals and the toggle, and the rest came from my own stash. But as you can see, the crystals are really the focal pieces of this set. And also this set would not have come into being without those crystals to inspire it. So here is a closer look at the pendant. And you can see that beautiful crystal, all of the colors, and it is housed in that toggle. And below that, you could see the peacock charm I added. So I had this charm from months ago. It came in a subscription. I don't even remember what it was. And way back then when I got it, I actually wanted to create a peacock necklace. The only thing is I didn't have the colors available to me to create what I wanted. I also did at that point paint my silver peacock charm. So as you can see, the blues, purples, and greens in there. Anyway, like I said, I didn't have the beads I needed to create it. So this just got pushed to the side until I saw this crystal. And again, the peacock vibes made me look through my stash for that charm. And together, this necklace happened. So while we're starting down at the bottom, you could see all of the little dangles I put at the end of the peacock, giving him more flair at the end of his tail. And all the colors I kept in this project are represented in the crystal as well as the painting I did on the peacock charm. So let's move up the necklace and you can just get a closer look at all of the different color tones I put in the necklace. So they all fall into that family of the purple, blues, a little bit of greens mixed in. And as you can see, going up the chain, I have all these split rings connecting each link of beads. And I added those split rings because I felt it helped pull in the circle of the toggle throughout the piece and make it feel more cohesive, as well as adding a little more space between the heaviness of all the bright color beads. And if you noticed here, these are the duo crackle beads that came in last month's curated bead box, as well as these rustic blue beads. And both of them totally fit the peacock theme. Once I had those pulled out, I found all the fire polish and other beads to match it, but those were also the focal beads to complement the colors of my crystal. And this necklace is closed in the back with a lobster clasp. And for a closer look at the earrings. So I knew initially when making these earrings, I wanted the crystal in it as well as some kind of dangling component in a chandelier style. I didn't want to do a cluster. And looking through my stash, I didn't have any finished components that would allow me to create the look I had in mind. So I took some wire. Now this wire was already twisted and I thought that gave it a more decorative look. And the pegboard thing, I'm not quite sure what it's called, but it has those little pins in it that you can arrange how you want to help you create something with the wire. So I took that, laid it out, and wrapped it in this pattern. Now, mind you, this is only the second time I've created a pair of earrings with that pegboard wire thing. You can notice that I did make a little mistake. The loops on this one are slightly larger than the loops on that one. And while that does really bug me, I don't think it's too noticeable. I also left the space to slip the crystal on before I actually tied all the wires secure. And if you see at the bottom, they have those same dangles that I put in the peacock charm. And overall, I'm really happy with how these came out. I love that I was able to create my own chandelier with just wire, and I think that they very much complement this set. And onto the bracelet. The bracelet is using the same beads I have in the necklace, also connected with the split rings, and closed in the back with a toggle. And you can see how beautifully it matches this set. Here is the third set. I believe this is the point where I truly tried to tackle the orange of this box. So as you can see, I am using those orange agate style beads in their bright colors, as well as the leaf beads that had that gold veining on it. So there was two things that led me to using the bronze metal. The leaf beads are gold veined, and I really did not want to use them with silver. And I also felt that the darker tone metal helped anchor down the bright orange. So once I had the bronze in mind, I went through my stash to see what other bronze items I had to complement that. And I was very excited to find these dragonfly connectors that came in last month's Potomac bead box. I thought it would look really cute with this necklace. And it also helps draw the eye away from the brightness of the orange beads. Because when you look at this, the first thing you see is the dragonfly, not that you have neon orange beads in the necklace. So I thought that as a focal point would be really good in this piece. Then I also went through my stash to try to find some beads to complement as well as tone down those orange beads more. So I did find some small green fire polish that mimicked the green color in the leaf, as well as these darker round 4mm frosted orange beads. I also pulled out some bronze spacers that are mixed throughout the project. As for construction of this piece, this is a 2-strand necklace on beading wire. And you can see it's closed over the ends with a wire guard and a crimp bead on both sides. And to finish the necklace, it has chain going up the back to a lobster clasp. So I knew once I was using beading wire, I had to wire wrap the drops. I didn't want to just create the loop on the top and have a chance of it slipping off of the wire since it's so thin. And as you can see on each of these pieces, the top of every bead is wire wrapped. Now this is the first project I have ever wire wrapped beads into. I had quite a few mess ups in the beginning, but I was able to get, for the most part, most of the wire wrapping cohesive. And I don't know if you guys who wire wrap regularly have this, but it left my fingers sore for 2 days after wire wrapping all these. Maybe I was doing it wrong, I don't have the technique down yet, but anyway, I am really happy with how this came out. I will say initially I was a little about it, mostly because of the orange, but as it sat there on my desk next to me, it really grew on me. I realized I was able to incorporate those bright orange agate beads in a way that complemented the colors of the rest of the piece as well as was aesthetically pleasing to the eye. And for the earrings, they are actually the same drops that are used throughout the project on 4 different lengths of chain, all individually free-flowing dangles. And if you do notice, I used 2 of the agate beads. I used one that was really bright orange and one that was very muted. And I wanted to incorporate both colors into the earring as well to incorporate the full range of colors that are found in the necklace. And for the bracelet of this piece, I actually made a stretch bracelet. I am very hesitant about stretch bracelets because in my mind, I'm always scared they're gonna break. So I was really careful when I attached them to the dragonfly wings. And you can see that crimp bead right there. And I've been yanking on this thing nonstop trying to see if it's gonna give. And it hasn't yet. And maybe that will lessen my fear of using stretch bracelets a little. I used the second dragonfly, but this one has had a little bit of an amputation. So initially, of course, it had the tail like the piece in the necklace. But for a bracelet, that tail kept trying to catch on everything. It's just not practical to have something sticking out at the end on your wrist. So the same went for the antennas. As you can see, the original piece has longer antennas. They had to go as well. Both of them were snipped and filed down so they are completely smooth to the touch. Nothing there to catch. And I also, you can see in the shape of this, I bent it in ever so slightly, being really careful not to damage the piece. And with it bent in, it follows the curve of the wrist, so it doesn't stick up at all. And the reason why I wanted to do a stretch bracelet is because I really wanted that continuous flow of agate beads throughout the back. By this point, I had embraced the brightness of the orange, and I really loved the mix of the random colors throughout. They are all spaced with one of the bronze spacer beads. And at the front, you can see I put the 3mm fire polish as well as the 4mm darker orange frosted bead I had used in the necklace. So this is what it looks like on in the front. So as you can see, how it's laid and how the metal is bent really works for the wrist. And here is a look at the back, and you can see all those beautiful agate beads throughout the full color range mixed into the back. And I did do this stretch bracelet a little loose because I didn't want to put tension on the connecting portions of this. But I really think this is such a cute bracelet. Even with half the dragonfly's body amputated, you can tell this matches this set perfectly. I do believe out of all the bracelets I created, this one is my favorite for just how different it is. It was fun to make, it's fun to wear, as well as easy. Stretch bracelets are crazy easy to slip on. Much easier than trying to put a clasp on and all that. So there you go. That's the third set. Now I think this is a beautiful, beautiful fall necklace. It has all the fall colors, the fall feels. I don't know if dragonflies are fall, but it works together. Here we are at set number 4. Now this piece was very heavily inspired by the round medallion flower connectors. So when I pulled those connectors out, I really wanted to do something a little flowery. So from the box, I also pulled out the brighter green rondelles, the spacer beads, and the bead caps. I went through my stash and I was able to find this large silver flower charm. And I felt that this charm had similar vibes to the connector, still keeping that floral feeling, but while being much more decorative and pretty as a focal piece of the necklace. So while I had the silver pieces and the green going for this set, I felt it needed another color to help bring in the floral aspect. So I didn't want anything too bright, and I went through my stash and was able to find some pale pink beads. And I mixed these throughout the project. And then for some dangles, I was able to find these pale pink bellflowers. I thought they would be really cute dangling at the end. And I also went through my stash and found some green seed beads to put in the bottom to again bring in that green color from the rondelles. So overall, I feel that this necklace was a simple to construct necklace, but the colors and the floral aspects make it very fun. And as you can see, I only beaded up here past the medallions, and the rest is just chained to a lobster clasp in the back. The earrings are using those same little bell flowers as the dangles with one of the green rondelles. And now the earring post is the most interesting part about the earring. As you can see, it's one of the connectors, and I clipped off one of the ends and filed it smooth. And on the back, I glued on a post. So here is one of the earrings closer up so you can see. So I glued that post to the top, and I also had to slightly bend the post around the top because this medallion has a little ridge around the edge, and I really wanted it to lay as flush as possible to give it the strongest connection. So this is really strongly on there. I thought that was a really fun way to use these connector pieces. They look really cute on as the posts of these earrings and instantly make it match the necklace. And here is the bracelet to match this piece. You can see it's the same lengths of the necklace with one of the connectors in the center. On bracelets, when I'm using a larger connector of beads, I always bend them because if you don't bend them, they hang straight on the wrist and poke out. So if I put this on, now you could see how those curves around the sides just hold flush against the skin. There's nothing poking out, nothing out of place. So here's a look at it on. Again, that beautiful connector in the middle with the beads around. And at the end of this, I have it with the lobster clasp, a little extender, and one of the little bellflowers at the end. With the brighter green, I will say it's a little louder than I think I would have preferred, but I still think it creates a beautiful necklace, and I believe the tones complement each other. I will say there's one thing that bugs me about this set, and it is the bellflowers. I put 2 seed beads under each bellflower because one seed bead you couldn't see the green inside, and I kind of wanted it to mimic that green color throughout. And I thought it looked fine. I thought it was cute with the little center of the flowers sticking out. But when my cousin was over and she saw it, she's like, "Oh, that's cute. I like the mushroom necklace." And my head never went there. I never thought these little beads looked like mushrooms. But now what has been seen cannot be unseen. So every time I look at this, I see mushrooms. Here's a closer look at these little mushrooms, guys. Do you see them too? Like I said, my mind never went there, but someone who doesn't deal with these beads, an outside opinion, that's what they thought. I thought that was kind of funny, you guys, and I wanted to share that with you. Thank you for watching the video. I'm going to keep this ending really short and just tell you part 2 is linked down below. Please go check it out.